Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Allison. Welcome to my home in San Francisco. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Alison Damonte. Welcome to my home in San Francisco. I've lived in this house with my husband and my cat Cricket since 2010. We bought the house and immediately wanted to renovate, but our dreams were bigger than our budget. And so we lived here until about 2017 when the house was actually in a fire. And so we were forced to renovate. And so now we live in a dream house. It has everything we could have ever imagined and more. And it's just a wonderful place to live and a place for me to explore my design ideas. So the fire was really a pivotal moment for us in the renovation process. We had been working with a friend who's an architect for a while to get the plans in place. We'd submitted them to the city, and then unfortunately on Christmas morning at 1 a.m. we woke up to a fire outside the house. And it destroyed my neighbor's house, and it nearly destroyed my house. And so there was not much to salvage in the house. And so we kind of started not from scratch, but it really gave us some new ideas on what the house could be and what it should be. And so I think that, a lot of people say to me, wow, the fire was so terrible. But for us, it was in many ways a silver lining, which is what we call the house. It allowed us to do more and to really understand the joy that we had. And we wanted to bring that joy into the interiors. So after the fire, we had already submitted plans to the city. And so we knew we were going to do a renovation, and the fire just sort of made us do it. We were not sure when we submitted the plans if we could actually afford everything in the house. It's very expensive to build in San Francisco. It's incredibly expensive to live in San Francisco. And so we just, we knew that we had to rebuild because we love the neighborhood. This is our home. And we were very excited about the design that we had come up with. And so there was never any question about whether or not we were going to do it. I think that it just sort of forced our hand a bit, that it made it, absolutely necessary to rebuild. Welcome to my entryway. My entire house inside is only 22 feet wide. And so we really had to make use of the space in the most efficient way we could. So before in the house, we did not have an internal staircase, and now this is a central part of the house, both literally and from a design standpoint. So because there was no internal staircase before, getting a staircase into a house this small is really challenging. So we came up with this curved design. The architect implemented it. And we had to decide how we were going to treat this outside portion of the stair, for protection. And I love disco. I've got a disco ball in the other room, which we'll see soon. But I wanted the experience of walking up this staircase to be like walking through a disco ball. So these are steel slats. They are raw on 3 sides and just painted, and then they're mirror polished on one side. I think the effect is really cool. It brings a little bit more light into this space, and it's just a really great element in the house. I decided to paint the inside of my house mostly white, just because I knew that I had so much color in terms of furnishings and artwork that I wanted to keep it, at least the central circulation spaces, white. So we selected a pretty bright white. The flooring is also white terrazzo, so I really went for it. And when it came to the staircase, we were actually considering painting this a bright color, and we decided to keep it white. And it's actually held up really well as a white stair for the several years we've lived here now. And I love it as white. It really allows the piece to be a sculptural element, and there's no color to distract from it. The original house layout, this was a hallway. And so, we did keep some of the original layout the same. As I said, there was not a staircase, but we did have this long hallway. It's a very classic San Francisco Edwardian layout, which the house was Edwardian. It was built in 1908 after the earthquake this neighborhood is, or was actually like pasture land. And so after the earthquake, there was a lot of property up here. And so a lot of people built small homes in this neighborhood. So right off of the main entry space is the ladies' lounge. And when the house was designed in 1908, this was probably a parlor or a living room. So that's what it is today also. One of the things that we did when we renovated was we created this large opening so that this room was sort of an extension of the entryway, since the entryway was so tight. And it really allows, like, if we have a lot of guests, like a little bit more circulation space in the house. But we can also close these pocket doors for like extra guest room. Or if I'm playing the keyboard and I don't want anyone else to hear, I might close the pocket doors. So now the room, like I said, it's called the ladies' lounge. It's a room that's dedicated to ladies. And it's just kind of a cool spot. I imagine this is like a place where when I have my friends over, we would hang out. I've got my record player, which my husband gave me as a gift, which I absolutely love. I have my white Liberace style keyboard because I don't have enough room for a real piano in here. And one of my favorite elements that always gets turned on when we're in here, especially during cocktail hour, is my black disco ball. So this disco ball was made by Yolanda Yo-Yo Baker, who is the last person in the United States to be hand making disco balls. She made the disco ball at Studio 54. She made Beyonce's disco ball, and she made a disco ball for me. So I love disco. I love mirrors. I love the vibe of having like a party in every room. So this for me is super special. And I absolutely love that I have it and that Yo-Yo made it for me. So this really large painting is by Amy Feldman. And I actually bought this for my old office space. I had a lot of white walls in my office and I thought, I need some artwork here. So I actually walked down the street to a gallery in the Mission in San Francisco and they represented Amy. I wasn't really sure because it's gray, and gray is not one of my favorite colors, but I love the sort of like bulbous, fun, playfulness of Amy's work. And so I bought it for the office. And during the pandemic, I moved offices and this would not fit anymore in my new space. So I didn't know what to do with it. It's a really large painting. And so I thought, well, I'll just bring it to the house. I moved offices about the same time that I moved into the house. And so I was like, we'll just leave it here. We'll figure it out. And it actually is perfect in this room. The room has a lot of vibrant colors in it already. And so the painting actually kind of grounds the space. And it also makes a huge statement as soon as you open the door. So it's one of my favorite pieces, and I'm so glad that I have it here now. It was sort of happenstance, but it was a really fun, unintentional art move. So another favorite piece of artwork I have in the house is this photograph by Alex Soth. I was in Minneapolis visiting a friend, and his mother's a big art collector, and my friend said, we've got to go to this gallery. They've got really cool artwork and they've got a show by a local photographer that I think you'd like. And we walked in, and typically Alex's work is a little bit more photojournalistic, less sort of bright colors and commercial. But obviously this piece spoke to me. I want what these women are wearing. This was a photograph that Alec was commissioned by Gucci during the pandemic to do an ad campaign. So this is a Gucci ad. But I love that this photograph is sort of a time capsule of the pandemic. The guy with the mask is just so emblematic of what we were all so used to for several years. And I love the quirkiness of the subject matter. Obviously the women are front and center, but the ballerina, the giant pumpkins, it's just, for me, it's the perfect piece in this room. So another piece that I love in this room is the coffee table, which is by Alma Allen. Alma's work typically is done in stone and metal. And we visited his studio in Joshua Tree, and I saw this in the corner of the studio. And he explained to me that this is actually a mold for, he was using this to cast bronze tables. So he was doing like a small edition of bronze tables. I think there are 3. And this was the mold for the base. And I just thought it was really cool. I don't actually love wood that much, and you'll see there's not that much wood in the house, but this to me was super cool. I also love the shape of this with the Amy Feldman painting behind it. I think it's just like a really cool juxtaposition, and like kind of there's a nice conversation happening between the two pieces. So we use it as a coffee table. You can put your feet on it. It's really heavy, but it works in the space because the space is not large, and we were really trying to get like a small conversation area here. So it's kind of the perfect object to put a cocktail on. I love sitting in this room on this custom daybed. When we decided that this was going to be the ladies' lounge, we obviously needed a place to really lounge. And so we came up with this shape. It's a shape that happens actually in the house. Often it's a capsule shape. And so this is sort of like a quarter of a capsule. The shape repeats in the stairway, and there's some other outdoor day beds that have the same shape. But we just had to find a way to resolve this in here because we wanted to be able to use that wall for my keyboard. So, you know, we have the rounded corner, and then I covered it in one of my favorite Dadar fabrics of all time. This is Margaritas. You know, there's some of those fabrics that you find and you're like, I don't know where I'm going to use it, but it's perfect. And this just really worked with the color that we selected for the walls in the ladies' lounge, and it also informed the rest of the room. So it's one of my favorites. I have no regrets about this fabric choice, and I wish I could use it everywhere. It's really hard for me to tell you what my design style is. I will tell you that our architect, Casper Morgulness, is Norwegian. And so he designed the outside of the house in his style, which is sort of a reduced geometric shape. It's wood on the outside, very simple, just a simple shape. And he designed it because he knew Bruce and I, as clients and also as friends for some time, that we like to collect things. And so he actually calls the house the gallery house. And he designed it in a way where we had sort of open spaces, large walls, surfaces that we could really use to display our collection, which is always evolving over time. And so he kind of created the framework for us. And in terms of how I designed it, I think that I used this house as an opportunity to really explore ideas that maybe my clients weren't excited about, or that were a little bit more daring than most of my clients would go for. And ideas that I'd seen in magazines and through travel. We went to Italy a few years before the renovation and were really, really influenced by mid-century Italian architecture. So our floors are all terrazzo. There's also just, you know, like I said before, a sense of joy in what I do. And I really, really wanted that to come through in the house. And so joy, fearlessness, boldness, these are all emblematic of my style, no matter what the project is. But in my home, it really resonates. And I can't really describe the style. I guess I'm influenced by space and modernity, definitely by color. The idea of exploration is really exciting to me. And so it's kind of a big experiment. Let's head down the hallway to the library. Before we get to the library, I want to show you this really cool bathroom. I like to think that this is a good use of like a really inexpensive material in a really effective way. This tile is very inexpensive. It's from Dal Tile. It's one of my favorites. And what we did was we just grouted it with custom grout that I found on Etsy to match the wall color. And this is actually a shade darker than the color in the ladies' lounge. So we wanted this sort of progression of color throughout the house. But I think this is a really effective use of this tile. I think it's cool. It also shows up in my, my laundry room. So I just wanted to show you this before we get into the library. So now we're in my library, and this is a library, but it's also kind of a multi-purpose room for us. Before, when we lived in the house before the renovation, this was our living room here. This was also the dining room, and this was the kitchen. So there was a lot of stuff happening in this room. And now it's really this amazing space that we can use to read. I've got all my magazines, all of our design books, as well as watch TV. So one of the things that we wanted to do in the house is we didn't want to have a TV visible. And so we actually recessed the projector and the screen up in the ceiling, and you can watch TV. It's great for watching movies because it's a big screen, and it's really fun to have friends here. So one of the things, because I didn't want to have a TV visible in the room, it also meant I didn't want to design a room around a TV, which is, so often what clients want. And so we have this great modular sofa. This is the Camaleonda from B&B Italia. You've seen it everywhere now at this point. I bought it before it was everywhere. This is vintage. It came out of an inn in San Francisco. It was in brown velour. I don't really want to know what happened on the brown velour, so I reupholstered it in this great saffron velvet. And the great thing about this sofa is it's modular. So when we bought it, we had intended to set this room up as a big U shape facing the screen. And I was like, that's just not me. I don't want to have this whole room be about like looking in one direction. I want to have a conversation. I want to be able to my husband and I can have our own sofas when we're reading. So it's great. But if we do want to have a bunch of friends over and watch a basketball game or a movie, it's super easy to move around and we can reconfigure the space. It's a little tight, but it works. This piece of artwork is actually a photograph, which is sort of mind-blowing. The artist's name is Daisuke Yokota, and his process, I'm going to probably get this wrong, but basically it's a negative that he has manipulated the actual chemicals on a photo negative, and then he's taken a photo of it and blown it up. So you get these really amazing sort of psychedelic gestures and colors. And if you get up really, really close to it, you can see it's a photograph, but it's so wild. And it really, we bought this after the room was designed. We had another piece of artwork we intended to put here, and it was just a little small and it wasn't working. And as soon as we saw this, we're like, that's it. And this piece really activates the room and it works with the rest of the decor in such a beautiful way. So you'll notice that in all of my rooms, the ceiling is actually painted the same color as the walls. And that was a really intentional design decision that I made. The ceiling is like a fifth wall. And so often clients or whoever, they treat it like it's just supposed to be white. And there's no reason for that. I think some people think it's scary to paint it dark, but like I said before, gray is not my favorite color, but I do love the mood that happens in this room at night. This is a room that we use throughout the day, but really gets used a lot at night. And I think if we had a white ceiling, it would just kill the vibe in here. So I really do shop everywhere. I'm always looking for amazing objects. And one of my most recent finds is this stunning rainbow blanket that I got in Nova Scotia. It is woven with basically scraps of yarn. I think there are 38 different colors of yarn, but each square is different. I just think this is amazing, and it's like my personality in a blanket. So I love it. I saw it in the shop window. The shop owner was closing. She's like, well, I'm not going to be open for another 4 days, so you have to decide now. So I just jumped and did it. So in addition to this amazing sofa by Mario Bellini, which this was designed, I believe, in 1973, we have this amazing coffee table by Gianfranco Frattini. And I like to think these were designed in the same year. The seat height is similar to the coffee table height, so it works really well. I mean, I love a big coffee table, so, it allows me to display more objects, right? A lot of people think it's like, a coffee table like this might be too big for this room, but what else are we going to do in here? So, sometimes there's a big flower arrangement. I made this for you, Homeworthy. It's a little exotic, but we always have like piles of books on this coffee table. We eat dinner on the coffee table sometimes and watch TV. We actually got this coffee table on eBay. And it was not expensive. It got shipped here, and one woman delivered it, and the top weighs about 200 pounds. So that was an interesting delivery. But, I think it works perfectly with the sofas, and it's a great surface. It's not precious. Nothing in my house is precious. And yeah, it's just the perfect fit in here. I love that it's glass too, because it kind of creates some lightness. Otherwise it might be a little bit heavy to have like a solid coffee table in here. The only problem is we have had a friend trip over it once. I'm not exactly sure how he tripped over it and how it didn't break, but it didn't. So it really proves that well-designed objects can last forever. So the outside of the house is black, and that was a choice I made before the fire. It's been a controversial choice. I will say that. The house has been published and it's always the thing that people don't like. Some people I now know don't like a black house, and that's okay. I always wanted a black house. I love how foliage plays against black. And part of the exterior of the house that was very important to me was the landscape design. So I really wanted this dark exterior to show off plants. I had this idea of the house having these garden levels or garden spaces on every single level. And so for me, the black was really important. As I mentioned, our architect is Norwegian, and in Norway, there is a heritage of having black houses. And so, in some ways, it talks a little bit to his heritage, but it was a decision that I made. And, now it's a little trendy, but I still love it. I'm going to stand behind my decision. That's what design's about, standing behind your decisions. So, I love it, and it's not for everyone, and that's okay. The idea of the house from the outside is sort of anonymous, and that was also really intentional. I really sort of didn't want to reveal what was inside. I wanted some privacy in my life. And so the outside of the house is rather anonymous. The inside of the house is a big party. So I like to think of the house as like the perfect party house. We don't have that many parties. We're still getting just out of COVID. I guess it's been a few years, but San Francisco's been a little bit more conservative. And, I just want this place to be a place that people come in and they really let their imagination fly. It's part of my job is getting clients to trust their own imagination. And I want the house that I live in to also challenge my own imagination and how I could live. So let's go and check out my bar. So the kitchen is upstairs in the house, which we still haven't gotten up there. And we wanted to have a little space that, like, if we had takeout or if we wanted to make a drink, we didn't have to go upstairs. Plus, a wet bar is just really fun and great for a party house. So this bar has a really beautiful piece of onyx on top. I got this from a local stone source, and it was a remnant. It was like the last piece they had, and it fit perfectly here. So we really love that. We've got some sipping alcohols here that are good just over a rock. So also in this room is this light box photograph. This is a Julia Schulman project down in LA. Julia Schulman is a very important architectural photographer, and my husband's an architectural photographer. So this is really meaningful to him. And we're actually right next to his office. So it's a perfect placement for it. So I have a lot of glassware in the house, and this is just a small selection of it, but these are some of my favorites. I've had these forever. I think they came from eBay. I don't have all of them anymore because we've broken a few, but they're just really cool, super elegant. This is the perfect glass for a last word. It's a really elegant coupe. It's fun. It's weighty. I just really love it. And then these glasses actually are super cool. Love them. Little dots to match my light here. And I got these at Anthropology. So, it just goes to show that you don't need to get everything super high end. You can mix high and low. And these are some of my favorite glasses. So one of the ideas in our house was that we really wanted to hide away some of the more functional spaces. And so in this room, we wanted to have a bathroom. And so we got one. And this is always a really fun moment when guests come over, when they open this, to see their reaction. So I hope you like it as much as I do. Welcome to the tiger bathroom. I found this wallpaper when I was in New York City. I went to a basement bar in Chinatown, and they had this wallpaper, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I went home to the hotel and was Googling for 3 hours tiger wallpaper until I figured out what this was. This is actually Gucci, limited edition, and you can still get it in white. The pink is sold out. That's what I've heard. But I just love it in here. It's one of the first things I bought for the house before I even started any of the design work, but I knew I had to have it. I'm so glad I have it. I'm so glad it's in this room and that I can share it with you. I've added my own touch to the house probably mostly through color, which is something that oftentimes my work is identified by people associate my work with using a lot of color. And I'm really interested in color combinations. I'm interested in how light plays with different colors in different spaces. I just love color. I have since I was a little kid. So it's just part of me. It just comes out of me naturally. I think that the other thing that's become really, really important for me in terms of how I decorate the home is making sure that everything in the home has a story. And so I can really point to almost anything and tell you where I bought it, who made it, what I was doing that day when I bought it, if I was on vacation, who was with me. And it's just really important for me to have that history with the objects that I live with. So, there's a lot of artwork in the house. It's sometimes moving around a bit, but we've met many of the artists and they've actually been to the house. So that's a really, really important part of my design process is having things in the house that have meaning. And knowing the people who have made the things in the house is incredibly important to me. Welcome to my bedroom. This is one of my favorite rooms in the house because it's quiet, it's cold, it's dark, and it's a little reprieve from the world outside. I intentionally designed this room to have a little less color than the other rooms in the house, but I love color so much. So there is some in this room, but I would say it's a more subtle use of color. I have so many favorite things in this room. I'm not really sure where to start, but let's start with the wall of tile. So my friend Tina Fry is an amazing resin artist, and she made this tile in the same profile as some of the walls upstairs in our house. So these are hand cast resin tiles. They're handmade, so they're not rectilinear, and I think the installation was really difficult. But I absolutely love the effect that they have in this room. And I just think that they're beautiful, and they conceal an amazing shoe closet on the other side. So it's kind of that concept wherever you see this triangular profile on the walls, we're concealing something behind it. This is a really small room, and we wanted to make it feel more expansive. And the idea of like closing the closet off and having it just be sort of a boring closet wasn't good for me. I wanted the room to feel as big as possible, and so the closet becomes really an extension of my bedroom. So if you come back here, I'll at least show you the shoes. They're hidden behind this amazing tile wall. When we designed the house, I thought I would never fill this shoe closet up, and I think it took me about 2 months. So right now, I don't know. I keep buying heels, but I'm not sure why. I'm really into like a super dressy sandal, and these from Jill Sander are like spaceman vibes that really sing to me. So these are my favorites, comfortable, chic, and super cool. Let's go check out my bathroom. So this is my bathroom, and again, it's an extension of my bedroom. So I wanted it to have the same serene feeling as the bedroom, and I wanted to be able to put everything away and not see any clutter in here. And one other thing that I wanted to do was not have tile. It's a small room, and I thought tile was going to make it cluttered. So we actually used Moroccan Tadillac plaster on the walls, and that's a waterproof plaster. So as you'll see, there's no tile. You can get every single wall in here wet. You will not hurt it. It's an ancient technique from Morocco. I think it's really beautiful and subtle, and I hope more of my clients start to use it. I also really love my mirror. This was designed by me. It's a 2-layer mirror. So behind the circular clear mirror is a smoke mirror, and I just love the effect of the 2 different mirrors together. I love the graphic quality of this in the space. And at night, actually, there's a backlight on the mirror, so it's kind of like a night light, and you don't have to like light up the whole bedroom if you just need to come into this room at night. There's other things in this room that I absolutely love. I literally do not know where to start because so many of my things in here are favorites. This lamp is amazing. This is a French artist. He's basically been making the same lamps since like the 60s. I think the design is super funky. It's super cool. It doesn't really illuminate much, but like it makes such a statement here. I love it layered on top of this photograph. This is another photograph by Alex Soth. And I think it's like so cool. This drapery is amazing. This is Maria Cornejo for Knoll. You can't buy it anymore, but man, this stuff is So awesome. I love it. It's called Big Fringe. You know, it's white, it's peaceful, but it's still funky. If I had to pick one prized possession in this house, I think it would be this chair. This is a super, super important piece to me. It's made by Studio Vandenacker. Sean is a very good friend of mine, and I met him the first time I met him, and he said, I think I'm going to name a chair after you. And I was like, really? So this is the Garvey chair. My maiden name is Garvey, and he named this chair after me, and so I had to have it in my house. It's perfect in the bedroom. I love this like subtle, blushy nude mohair. It's super soft, and just a really elegant place to sit. And sometimes it's where my clothes end up. I don't know what my favorite color is. I like to say that I like every color. I think if I had to choose, it would probably be chartreuse. And the funny thing about that is there's not much chartreuse in my house. Sometimes I look around and I wonder, how did I not get chartreuse in here? And I think it's because there are so many other colors already. Um, so yeah, I mean, I love all of the colors. I think they all work amazingly well together, and finding those sort of odd color combinations is something that I love to do. In the house, I think that one of my favorite unexpected color combinations is in the ladies lounge. The walls in there are painted sort of a peachy nude color. The chairs are like a cantaloupe wool boucle, and then the rug in there is actually a burgundy shearling rug. And I think that it's a strange combination. I'm not sure how I figured it out, but I love it. And um, it just really is a warm palette that I think works very well together. I think in some ways I always wanted to be an interior designer. I mean, I have the same story that a lot of people do, that I grew up decorating my room, painting my room, repainting my room. Um, and when I went to college, I thought that I maybe needed to have a more professional or serious career path. And so I decided to study political science. And I then thought I was going to be a lawyer. And about the week before I graduated, I started looking at LSAT books and I was like, I'm not a lawyer. And so actually, I immediately went to a program where it sort of emulated graduate study in architecture, because I thought, well, if I don't have a undergraduate degree in design, how can I get into design? And for architecture, you actually, for a master's, you do not need to have an undergraduate degree in design. Perfect. Okay, no, not perfect. I did not want to do all of the technical things that architects have to do. I really respect architects, but I didn't want to be one. So I moved to San Francisco and had a lot of different jobs just to pay rent, and ended up working in marketing at an architecture firm, thinking I was going to do that for a few years. And that lasted for 5 years. And finally, I just said, I've got to make a change. So I started going to night school and studying interior design. I took a few clients on the side. And, just, I don't know, I was hustling, I guess. And I went to a party and I remember what I was wearing. It's like the power of clothing. I had this highlighter yellow jacket, like long jacket on. And I walked into this room and it had striped wallpaper and there was bright orange and it was just amazing. I think there was a spaceship in the corner. And I remember this feeling of like spinning around and being like, this is my place in this house. This was a showcase house party. And the designer was there. And I said, I love your room. And she said, I love your coat. And the next day I went and interviewed with her and she hired me on the spot and I started working in her firm. And that was Martha Angus, who was a huge influence for me and design superstar in San Francisco. So I was really fortunate to have been in the right place at the right time. And that kind of started me on a different trajectory of really being focused about interior design and getting away from the jobs that were sort of tangential to design, like marketing, and allowed me to really explore my creativity. So one of my favorite parts of this room is that it opens up into a small garden. Plants are really important to me. It was very important in the design of the house. And I wanted this space to feel like a special moment in sort of a crazy urban context. And so it's a small yard, and it was planted to be sort of like a jungle. And I think we've achieved that. So let's go out and check it out. What a day to be in this garden. It's the hottest day in San Francisco, which, if you know anything about San Francisco, we don't get many of these days. This is the perfect day to be out here. This garden is so cool. I love the sunken feeling of it as we go down into this like great pebble sort of sunken level. Super cool. I got these trees online. They were this big 2 years ago, and they're actually cassavas. So I don't know if I ever need any food, I guess I can dig them up. Really super cool. I love the umbrella effect that they give us back here. These wire chairs I got in Morocco. I love them. They're super sculptural. I don't have to worry about cushions out here. They're very comfortable. They stay out here all the time. They look cool and they're comfortable. So just like a nice little quiet moment out here. So we added this swing later on in the design process, and I'm so glad we did. This is a great place to sit and read a book or have a phone call. It's a nice, cozy little nook, and it's a really fun place just to hang out back here. I love designing my own home. Sometimes it's really hard. It is hard to make a decision when you know all of the possibilities, but for me, it's like complete freedom. You know, I'm the client, so I have to answer to myself. And so, yeah, I still don't have a rug in my master bedroom because I can't decide which one's right for me. And, you know, I think of my house really as sort of a laboratory where I'm thinking about different ideas and changing things. And, you know, I think it's meant to evolve here. So it's really fun for me. I just painted the guest room for the third time, like 3 weeks ago, and I think I got it right now. But it took some time. And, you know, that was a real learning lesson, like how light from a certain light source was going to react with color in that room. And now I can take that to other clients, you know, that knowledge that I've learned in my own home. You've seen so much of my house, but you're probably wondering where my kitchen is. So let's head upstairs and I'll show you. So when we redesigned the house, we decided to put the kitchen up here because this is this amazing penthouse level with views and light. So we spend a ton of time in the kitchen, but it's also open. And so what I wanted to do up here was design an open kitchen that looked as least like a kitchen as possible. So we achieved that in several ways. I've got a hidden refrigerator here. I don't know what's inside there, so don't look too closely. And we have a hood that comes out of the cooktop like this. It's magic. And then we have this great open shelf. And I think that, you know, when we were thinking about the house, I thought for sure I was going to have dishes and functional things up here. But really, again, the architect wanted us to like be able to display our art and our objects. And so we just compromised by saying we don't need to have that much stuff. So everything we have is stored in the cabinets here. I've got a pantry around the corner too. And it allows this shelf to be free for an ever-changing collection of objects and art that we love. So my husband is actually the chef. He used to work in a restaurant actually as a teenager and was the head chef, which is crazy. So we both cook. I think that, you know, we both kind of alternate on, we're both busy schedules. So sometimes I'm cooking a lot, sometimes he's cooking a lot, but cooking in this kitchen is a real joy. I mean, we've got amazing views, amazing light. It's just wonderful to cook up here. It doesn't feel like you're in a kitchen, and very functional, you know, and I like to keep it tidy. I don't like to have a lot of stuff out, and that was very intentional. I know not everyone wants to live like that, but I did, and I just absolutely love this space. I just put this floral arrangement together this morning for you guys. It's just a little thing. It's a little dramatic, but I actually love arranging flowers. It gives me so much peace. It's something I do to relax. And so we sourced these beautiful flowers yesterday at the San Francisco Flower Mart. We've got dahlias, eucalyptus, and the most insane Technicolor hydrangeas that you can imagine. And I just love them. It's hard to talk about my kitchen without mentioning this insane pendant. This is designed by a local artist named Joanna Grawunder, and it is made out of cast acrylic. It's called the Disky 7, I think. It really makes a statement in the kitchen. It's actually the first thing I bought for the house. So this set the tone for the entire house in terms of the vibe that I wanted to have. And I love this pendant. You can see it from the street. People comment on it when they're walking by the house about how much they love this pendant. It also looks just as good during the day when it's not lit as it does at night because of the acrylic. It's one of my absolute favorite pieces, and if we ever move, which we'll never move, it will definitely come with me. But it's just perfect in this space, and I love the color it brings to the room. So one of the best things in this penthouse is the way that these windows operate. They're actually sliding doors. Our architect is a genius for this move. And they're just short sliding doors. So we can really open up this entire level and experience the beautiful outdoors. Warm San Francisco day. We can wave to the neighbors, get some fresh air in here, and it's just like a really wonderful way to experience the space. My husband is absolutely on board, and he enables me and I enable him. I think if he could, he would probably want to be a designer right alongside me. He's got a great eye for vintage furniture and a real skill in finding just treasures. And so he's absolutely on board. And actually, I sometimes have to tell him, like, hey, we don't really need to redo this. This looks good already. Like, let's move on. Let's take a look at my dining room, which has one of my favorite pieces in the whole house in it. This amazing dining table was custom made for this space. It's by Dutch architect Dirk van der Kooi. And I don't exactly know what his process is because it's a secret, but I can tell you that this is made from recycled plastic parts. So one of the coolest parts about this table is the clear parts, which are actually jewel cases from CDs. You know, we all used to have a bunch of CDs and now we don't. So what happens to all of that garbage? Well, Dirk has made it into this amazing functional piece of furniture. The table is plastic, so it's super, super easy to take care of. I don't worry about candles spilling on it or food or anything. It's just great, and it's definitely a conversation piece in the room. I like to host a lot as much as I can, and I think that the best party tips I can give are always light candles and greet your guests with a glass of champagne or wine. So these are candlesticks by Pucci di Rossi. I found them in Palm Springs at a vintage store. I love them. They're very 80s. They're a little pomo, super cool, but I had no idea what kind of candles to use. And I was in Mexico City, and I went to a candle store where they actually were making custom candles. And so I had them make custom spherical candles for me. And you can see they're not really spheres anymore, but I love how weird and deformed they get as they melt. They do start to make a mess, but I think that's also part of their beauty. So this is always on the table. We light it mostly for special occasions, but sometimes just because. And it's just a really cool piece. Makes a big statement. My favorite thing about my home is that it's really me. I feel like my personality is on display in this house, and it feels so authentic. If you ask me to pick a favorite space, I don't know that I could tell you what my favorite space is. You know, I designed the house so that each space really had a different feeling, and you'll see that as we walk through the home. I wanted to have a different feeling in different rooms. And because we'd lived in the house for so long before the renovation, it also sort of informed us, like, a good example of this is like my bedroom is downstairs in the lowest level. It's next to a garden. The garden was really important for me. It's quiet down there. It's cold down there. And so that was a decision I made, like, very consciously, that I wanted to place the bedroom downstairs. The room we're in now was my old living room and kitchen. And now it's a library space. So it feels very different than the other rooms in the house. This is definitely the darkest space in terms of, like, wall color. It's meant to be moody. You know, this is a place where you have a drink after dinner, you watch some movie, listen to some music. We have a lot of lounging spaces in the house. So there's a lot of places to relax, but they all feel different, and we use them for different purposes. Right across from the dining room is our formal living room. It's not really that formal because it's not precious at all. I do have a white sofa, But I have a cat too. She's 18. She sleeps on this all the time. She's amazing. And I just don't really worry about spilling. Like, if it happens, I guess it happens. But I want the spaces that I have, no matter how formal they are, to really be used. So these chairs are amazing. They're covered in mohair, one of my favorite fabrics, super durable. And I have no problem putting my feet up on the table. This coffee table is from a trip to Morocco. We found it in a garage of all places and had it shipped back here. These chairs we bought in Rome. They're very special to us. We've had them recovered once, and I think I'll always live with them. And yeah, this is just a great room to hang out in day or night. So while a lot of the stuff that's in my house has a provenance, and I know the designer and I know the story behind it, this chair is a little bit of a mystery. I bought this in a small town outside of San Francisco from a dealer that I really like his style. I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be a prototype for something else. The construction is a little rough, but it's a really cool object in the space. No one should ever sit on this chair. It's not that sturdy, but it looks really cool, and it's a great place to put a book or a glass of water. I think that a home has soul when it's really authentic to the person who lives there. I also think that the history of objects in the home gives a home soul. Anyone can go out and buy a bunch of items from a catalog or from a store and have a really well-designed, beautiful home, but I don't think it has meaning. I think that when you surround yourself with objects that have a history and that have a story for you, you're able to really connect with the home in a different way. So the floor lamp behind me is really cool. I don't know who designed it. It's from the 60s. We got it on auction. My husband and I have been starting to buy things on auction a little bit more now. And it's a really interesting way to be able to find cool pieces, sometimes for a better price than you can if you buy from a store or from a dealer directly. And it's just a really super cool sculptural element, whether it's on or off. If you come to my home, you have to meet the most important member of my family, Cricket. Cricket is 18 years young, and she's still kicking. We've had her since she was 2, and she's just such a special, special pet for us. A lot of people ask me, like, you don't have a cat because your furniture is not destroyed. And I have to say, Cricket is the best cat ever. She does not scratch my furniture. She can barely even jump up on it. But we love her, and we're really excited to introduce you to her. So as you know, I love to hide things behind these doors. And this is another one of these volumes that has this triangular texture on it. And we wanted a powder room up here, so obviously I had to make it my own. Are you ready to come in? This powder room is magical. So when I found this wallpaper, I was like, I have to use this wallpaper. It's a mural, and when you're in here, it's like a little bit of a cabinet of curiosities. You'll see the grid pattern that's on the tile in my guest bathroom repeats up here. And I just love the idea that you walk into this room and you're kind of transported into another dimension. We also decided to mirror the ceiling in here. As I said before, I love mirror, and we thought, why not mirror it? And it's this kind of kooky, fun moment on the ceiling that no one's expecting. So one of the best parts about this room is that we can really open it up, especially on nice days like today, and have it be true California indoor-outdoor living. These doors slide open completely, and we have like an extension of our living room right out here on the patio. So this space is amazing. This sofa heats up. It's amazing. It plugs in and it can keep you warm, which we definitely need in San Francisco. It's a great thing to have out here so that you can come out and enjoy the view no matter how nice it is. I think that the word home means to me a place where you feel safe and where you feel that you can be yourself, and that you feel is a place where you want to have your loved ones surrounding you. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it has to really be true to you. Thanks for stopping by my house today, Homeworthy. It was so fun sharing my home with you. Now I'm gonna sit in my garden and enjoy the rest of this beautiful day.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.